Hello, I'm George Sellers, Creative Director for Global Views and Studio A Home. Thank you for joining us for Show and Tell. I'm going to be talking about trend, and that's a big category, so we're going to work on it as color. Global Views historically has just been a powerhouse of color. Bang, pow, here it is. It's on the floor, it's on the walls, it's on the textiles. Times change, things evolve, and as a company, on the last couple of seasons, we've desaturated this collection. We've focused on these amazing and beautiful bronze textures, nickels, satins, brasses, neutral fabrics, creating this really warm, livable background. And now we're going to delve back into that classic presentation of color. How do you get there? Color can be difficult, or it can be this amazing challenge. I'm not interested in trend presentations. Once you get them, they're already done. So as a company and as a group and as a team, how do we approach that? So we went to the basics, the color wheel. Opposites, blue and orange, bang, they vibrate, they're powerful. But how do we shift that into this palette, a beautiful palette for Global Views? We took that opposite and turned it into Azure and Persimmon. You smoked them out and made them a signature color. They still vibrate, they're warm, coastals in Azure. Persimmon, the tones are endless. They can come and go, warm, it cools, and we've paired them with nickel for our spring and summer. Nickel, it vibrates, it can be warm, it's not only a blue color, it's warm. Persimmon, Azure. That's our presentation for spring, summer. And there you have it. Thank you for joining us. Here we have our big old explanation of our color story, Azure, Persimmon. And as you can see here, it's not a simple thing of just two colors. We're covering so many aspects of this spectrum, from this beautiful deep azure tone, and then the complexity of this beautiful abstract bean vase in hand-blown Polish glass. It doesn't get much prettier than that. It's heavy, it's amazing, and this started life at the end of this long glass blowing pole. This is a generational technique. It takes generations to learn how to do this. This watercolor collection, the persimmon here, you can see it has beautiful pinks, oranges, yellows, all the true colors that make up a persimmon happen right here in this watercolor technique. And this requires a master glazer to create this type of glaze. Look at this green, all these layers. This is a fine art of glazing. You see it in the charger here. This beautiful little stack, simple ceramic vessel, pulling a contrast, but still in that same family hue. And then again, piece of this beautiful Polish blown glass in the deepest azure, really Mediterranean seascape right there. Heavy, heavy piece. And these little chimney pots, bringing in the nickel story of our spring and summer collection. And then here's a little Folly, our pharaoh ants, running about. There's this really complex, beautiful color story. A piece like this, you can walk into your new build, open the door, put this in the middle of the floor, and you're done. This watercolor collection deserves a little more attention because it's really complex. This is a reactive glaze. It's Portuguese ceramic slip cast, and I think we've covered just about every color with this one. Of course, the persimmon and azure are prevalent, but as you get in close, you can see all these just beautiful waves of blues. It's a beautiful coastal piece. You can just find images and anything your imagination can handle in this piece. This beautiful green happens right here. Each piece is going to be unique as the glaze reacts differently on everything. In this big charger, you really get the way you see these rings happening out. Very proud of this collection. It's that classic Global Views use of color. These are two collections in that color story. The short stack vases and the tall stack. It's pretty obvious. This color sea mist, and this illustrates the kind of green side of our azure. It goes blue, green, really complex little color there. Portuguese ceramic, slip cast, floral, any uses right there. Now here we have the more esoteric side of our color story of persimmon and azure. It's just beautifully and simply complex, barely there color that turns into this really rich centerpiece. This hand-blown Polish glass, this is one of my favorite ateliers that we work with. Little tiny place outside of Krakow, near the Ukrainian border. Not easy to get to, but so worth the destination. Look at the weight of this. This is fine art glass right here. One of my favorite things in the collection. Here's a further example of our color story, Azure and Persimmon, as told in glass, various types of glass. Here we have more of this beautiful, thick Polish glass, representing azure, of course, here. And these pieces are interesting. We based this whole collection on geometry. We started with the square vase. This beautiful chunk of blown glass is then hand ground to create these facets in the triangle for the triangle vase. This round sphere starts life as a perfect sphere, and then a technician takes this on a stone wheel and grinds these beautiful planes. This is the Pentagon. And then we have the hexagonal vase, the small. Imagine that heavy piece of glass grinding those perfect geometric shapes into each piece. That doesn't just happen. A human being sits there and does this individually. And this lovely cylinder. It's so simple, one hydrangea, you're done. Or you just sit it there and let it live life all alone and beautifully like this. And then this is a totally different technique. This is fused glass. This is made by one individual, lovely woman in Portugal. She has her studio just outside of her home. We always visit, when we visit her, we see her dogs. She has some fruit trees and oranges growing, and she's working on these pieces just right there at home. These are colors start life in sand form. So you'd have this orange bag of sand, the blue, the orange. She cuts these screens, lays the sanded color in this pattern, this very complex pattern. All those little tiny dots, individually laid color. Puts the entire piece into her slumping oven, cooks it into the shape, and melts it into one piece. So this is a very complex and difficult thing to happen. It's not screen printed little cheap glass. This is handmade, real deal. Here it is. Here is another one of my favorite collections. It's within our color story, but we're kind of covering all the colors. This is a very traditional and ancient technique. It's Millefiori or Millefiori. It's an Italian word for 1,000 flowers. These little tiny bursts of color, which you might have seen in your grandmother's paperweight or some 1950s collected piece. We've modernized it here with this technique. These moments in the glass happen from glass tubes of rods of all of these hand-applied color pieces. They're chopped into little tiny pieces. This bowl, all of this collection is formed on a centrifugal wheel. They take the molten glass with the Millefiori included. When they pour it on the centrifuge, it pulls these shapes out, and they take paddles with the molten glass and bend them into these bowl shapes. So this is a technique that's very protected and very unique. And we have the privilege of working with this very small studio. And this is why we fly to Venice. We fly to Venice to be able to do this. This doesn't happen off the shelf. When the light comes through this, it's just magical. Now here we have the dark side of our spectrum. We're still in azure, but you can see how deep it is and really rich. I mean, it's almost going black, but it's just beautifully reflecting these blue-greens. This is the striated vessel, large and small. You can see they're large scale. Really big statement piece, console, anywhere you want to put them. They're just pretty magnificent. This is slip cast Portuguese ceramic. Now here's one of the rock stars of our color collection. A little bit of persimmon, a little bit of green. Now, this is one of those glazes, when I saw it, I'm like, is that too much? And then I walk around it, I look, and I say, nope, it's just enough. It's whimsy, it's fun. These are called the striped Melon collections, the 2 vases in the bowl. You see this double wall, really interesting bowl here. This is going to be a conversation moment wherever you put this. Someone's going to react to this in a fun and whimsical way, because that's what they are. They're fun and whimsical. Here's a little continuation of the Azure side of the story. As I referenced that sea color and the azure, here we have barnacles of the sea in azure. Beautiful little stem vase, or just a sculptural moment on your coffee table. These are really amazingly priced. These we sourced in China. We're bringing you a really good price point on these. Whole lot of look for really good value. These were inspired by ancient Roman coins. Solid cast iron on a fabricated steel base. It's painted black and has this really pretty gunmetal finish on it, kind of finishing out that nickel, silver, gunmetal-y story that is our spring and summer. And just really beautifully carved. It's a great bookcase moment, coffee table, however you want to present it, but lots of fun. Now, I wish you'd just look at this. I'm looking for all kinds of little fancy words to say about these, but these are just pretty. They're hand-thrown Italian ceramic. A father and daughter, literally father and daughter, in the hills outside of Florence. Throw these, fire them, and hand paint them one at a time. Each one's going to be unique. It's just this beautiful little moment, and it fits in our color trend. It's on the orange side of persimmon, and if you'll just get in here and look, there's some azure right there. A beautiful little happening. It fits beautifully into our color story, and it adds this real fine art legitimacy to the whole collection. These are just special. And the people that make them are very special too. This is good classic global views right here. And this just happens all the way around. The background glaze is beautifully crackled. It's a 3-dimensional painting. They don't just hang on the wall.